Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we are going to discuss about analytic model in SAP Datasphere. What are its functions and how we can create analytic model. Yeah, so analytic model allows multi-dimensional and rich analytical modeling with less effort to answer business questions easier, faster, and more efficiently. So we will see this how we can uh, do a multi-dimensional modeling. It is the go-to analytic consumption entity. It offers many features like calculated and restricted measures, exception aggregations, nested dimensions, variable support. So nested dimension means we can associate like one dimension to another dimension, and we can use that in analytic model for data preview. Then we have variable support. So there are multiple variable supports in analytic model, and then we have time dependency for dimensions and text, multi-dimensional analytical preview including filtering, pivoting, and hierarchies, etc. So we will cover all this during the demo session. So analytic model preview. So in the preview option, what are the features? So analytic model data can be previewed in details without the need to create a separate story. So instead of in many of the cases, like we create a model and to view the data in a number of ways, like to drill down to use a hierarchy or a text, or use an attribute, navigational attribute. We mostly used to use story, but here we do not need to use story for the testing purpose. We can directly use a preview option, which provides all the features like how we can view our data, and later on if everything is fine, then we can proceed ahead to create a story in SAP Analytics Cloud, so that we can create several visuals based on the requirement. Then we have preview has rich functions, so flexibly choose relevant attributes and measures to place them in a column or a row, drag and drop to rearrange, set flexible filters on any attribute or measure including value help. Then we have display of hierarchies or flat representation, change sorting, filtering, total, unbooked values, and display behavior. For example, if you want to display ID or a description of that dimension, a number formatting, etc. Preview without the need to deploy first. So to preview the data, it's not mandatory to deploy the model first. You can do whatever changes you want to do in the model, and then can preview the data, then come back to the modeling window, then again do the changes till everything is fine, and then after everything is okay, then you can proceed with the deployment. So these are the basic steps, like how we create end-to-end design in SAP Datasphere. So first we prepare dimension and facts. So we create a dimension table, fact table. We do all kind of associations or join based on our requirement that we have already covered with the other components of data builder. So we can create and define dimensions and fact tables or views. We can associate them with other dimension text or hierarchy models. We can enrich them with semantic type information and expose them for consumption. So these all things we need to do first. So this is the first step. Now after doing this, we will build our analytic model. So we will select the fact model including relevant attributes, measures, and associated dimensions. So this is the first step, and then we define further drill down paths using nested dimension. So we can use nested dimensions to further drill down path. Then we can also add calculated and restricted measures. We can use exception aggregations, variables, time dependency, and hierarchy wherever it is needed. Then we can preview the data. So once this part is done, we can use the preview to confirm correctness of the analytic model. So if anything is not as per our expectation, we can again go back to the modeling window. We can do the changes and come back to the preview again, and then we can also apply filters, sorting, hierarchies, total displays, and other features in the data preview pane. Then After our model analytic model is created, then we can create a story in SAP Datasphere, sorry, SAP Analytics Cloud. So create a story in SAP Analytics Cloud based on the analytic view, or build a new data model on top of integrate different data sources on top to integrate different data sources or associate master data views. So we can use our analytic model from Datasphere, or we can create another model on top of it, where we are like integrating multiple models based on our need, and then we can consume it in our story. So a few important points while creating a SAP Datasphere, those are calculated measures. So what are calculated measures? So reference other measures and allow the combination of measures with elementary arithmetic and more complex functions. These are calculated after aggregation of the current drill down. So calculated measures runs once the aggregation is done, not before aggregation. So for example, your analytic model have 25 fields. Okay. So when you will preview the data, you can choose only 5 fields in the display, or maybe 10 fields. So whenever you change the granularity, it will first aggregate based on the aggregation that you have defined, and then the calculation will run. Okay. So this is one important point you need to know. Then we have a restricted measure. So refer to another measure and allow restriction on available dimensions. Okay, so you can restrict. So for example, if you want to create separate measures region wise, so let's suppose you have multiple regions like Asia, EMEA, or other regions as well. So in that case, let's suppose you don't want uh, a single it is as a dimension, but you want it as a measure. So then you can create like for example revenue, Asia revenue. So and you will restrict with that measure with Asia as a region. So that is one example. So similarly, you can create restricted measure for different purposes, and you can restrict it with available dimensions as per your need. Then we have variable support. So the analytic model differentiate these variable types. So restricted measure variables, so these are used in the definition of restricted measures. So when you define a restricted measure variable, so you will get a pop-up when you run the data preview, and there you will provide the value of that dimension. So for example, if our restricted measure variable is based on fiscal year. Okay. So and it's a multiple value variable. So once the pop-up will appear, you can give 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 as the year. So for 5 years you have selected, and then those 5 years will be restricted in your data. So maybe if you have 10 years of the data, but because you have selected restricted variable as only 5 years, so this new restricted measure will only show those 5 years of the data aggregated. Okay. Then you have source variable. So this is used in a fact source to map it to input parameter of the analytic data set. So you can create a source variable. This can also be used. Of example, you have some input parameter from another table. So let's suppose business partner is a master data table or a dimension table, and you want to create a variable where you want to input the data from that master data table. So you can select that as a source variable with the input parameter. So this is the way you can use source variable. Also, like there will be cases when your view, which is your source of this analytic model, is having an input parameter. Okay. So you want to pass the values to those input parameters. So when you will create an analytic model, you will get an option to either you set a default value, or if you want to use it as a variable. So that we will show during the demo session. Yeah. Then we have filter variables. So this is used in a data set filter. So in case you want to filter your analytic model for a particular data filter, then you can create a filter variable. Then a reference date variable used as a reference date for time dependent um, dimensions or text. Okay, so let's move to the demo session. Okay, so we are at the data builder of SAP Datasphere. So what we will need to do is we need to go to new analytic model. So we will click on new analytic model. Let's close this. Okay, so this is the overview of analytic model editor. Here you have an option of repository where you will be able to see all your views and tables which you can use to create your analytic model. And here you have the properties of the analytic model, like what will be the name of your analytic model. So here maybe you can give um, sales order summary model. Okay, and here we will get the measures and the dimensions once we will add our source. So as of now we haven't added any source, so that is why it is blank. So what we will do, so we have a sales summary view available for us. Sorry, I don't want to open it. So we have a sales order summary view. We need to drag and drop in this area. Okay, so it will take some a few seconds. So here it will ask multiple things, is like add all the attributes to the analytic model, add all the measures to the analytic model, and you can add associations. So these properties is really important. And then also our view has a input parameter which is fiscal year. So there is an action option whether you want to set a value, specific value like 2020, or if you want to use a map to new variable. So it will be mapped to a new variable. Okay, so you can use either way. Click on select. Okay, so this is our fact source, which is sales summary view. Now sales summary view is associated with partner ID. That is why partner ID is showing. And this partner ID table is also associated with address table, which is also master data. So if we want to bring address information over here, so then we can use this feature. So we need to click on the partner ID, and here you can see. So if your partner ID table or whatever table is your association in this view is associated with, in turn is associated with another table, then those association will appear over here. And it is your choice whether you want to use that association in your model or not. So let's suppose I want to use this association, so I will click on it. Okay. So it is now associated. Now I will move to address ID. Okay. So this is the address ID, and once you will move to address id, here you can see your address id table is not associated to anything. Otherwise you can go one level down as well. Okay, so once I associated my address id with the partner id, I also need to select like what attributes I want to fetch. So either you can fetch only required ones, because you do not need to fetch everything. So you need to only select whichever is required. In my case I am selecting everything, but in your case maybe you just need to select those are important for your modeling. Let's go back. Okay, so here you can see address id is added in the dimension, and it's also have an arrow to expand it. And once you expand it, you will see all the attributes are added over here. So we'll quickly jump to data preview to see the data. Okay, and here you can see fiscal year is added as a variable. which is coming from source. We haven't defined it in our analytic model. It is coming from source. So once you will go to the data preview, it's taking some time. Okay, so here you can put your year. So let's suppose it is 2018. You can put 2018 and click on set. So the information has passed and we have fetched our data. So this is our data, and here you can see we have the address information available. So these are the objects available. So these are the measures that we have, and these are the dimensions that we have. So we can drill down to more details based on the address ID. So let's suppose if you want to know the name of the city, so you can add it in the drill down, and our data will be previewed based on the city, you can see. Okay, so this is very important feature. If you are already working with other tools or BW, SAP BW, you might be already aware about navigational attributes or master data attributes. So this won't be a new thing to you, but this is how we use it in data preview of analytic model in SAP Datasphere. Similarly, you can add partner ID as well if you want to add it. Okay, so partner ID is added. So these are the partner ID, and here you can see for one city we might have multiple partner IDs. So this is how easily we can drill down the data. Okay, let's go back to the model and do the other changes. Okay, so here we can see when we see a partner ID, here is a hierarchy sign. That means I have already associated a hierarchy to my partner ID. And here is a T sign, which is for text. That means I have also associated text with my partner ID. So you need to do this while designing your dimension table. You need to associate a text and hierarchy in, if you want to use it in your analytic model. So I've already did it with the partner ID dimension table. Okay, here I haven't added any hierarchy or text, that is why we don't have any such symbol. Okay, so this is about the dimensions. Let's move to variable part. So in the variable, as we have source variable, so we already have one source variable, so we will not create another one. Source variable is something like which you want to put a filter at the source level. So before fetching the data, it will put the filter. So we are using fiscal year already. So we will now see a restricted measure variable. So what is restricted measure variable? So to create a restricted measure variable, you can name it as, for example, restricted measure underscore. And if you want to restrict with period, for example, okay, you want only specific period, then you can use restricted measure variable. And here you can select the specific dimension, which is, where it is, which is fiscal period. Okay, and then you can select whether you want single value, multiple single values, or interval or range. Okay, so in my case I want multiple single values, but you can use others as well. Default value I want to keep it as blank. There is an option if you want to make this variable mandatory, then unless we put this input, then only the execution will work. So let's go back. So once we go back, it's still red because it's a restricted variable, restricted measure variable, and we haven't used it anywhere. If you read this message, it says use the restricted measure variable in a restricted measure or delete the variable. Okay, so we need to use it. We don't want to delete it, so we will use it. So we will create a restricted measure from this. We have a measure, we will create a restricted measure. Okay, so this is a restricted measure, and here we can give. So this is, let's suppose, selected, or maybe let me change it, otherwise it will make more sense. So instead of using period, because this is a restricted measure, maybe I can use sales organization. Okay, and here it will be sales org. Okay, let me change the technical name as well. Sales org. Okay, so this thing is okay. I will go back. Sorry. So I will go back to my model, and here I have already created a restricted measure. So what I will do, I will name it as sales org gross amount. Okay, so let me copy this. I'll paste it over here, and then what measure I have selected is gross amount. You can select other measures as well based on your need. Then aggregation type, I want to use this inherited sum only, and then our expression will be sales organization, sorry, sales organization equal to restricted measure variable 1. Let me check if this is the name. Let me go back. What is the name? No, so our name is rm period. Oh, it's not changed. I have changed it. Let me again update it. Okay, so this is our renaming my factory strategy. Okay, that's fine. I want to rename it, and then I will go here, and this one also I will rename as sales organization gross amount. And okay, and this one will be rm underscore sales org. Let's validate it. So expression is fine. Okay, so we will go back. So we have created our restricted measure already. So here you can see sales organization gross amount. So this is how we can create our restricted measure, and we can create a restricted measure variable and use it in our restricted measure. Then we have an option for a filter. So let's suppose we want to use fiscal year period, or maybe we can use fiscal period as a filter. So we can use it, and multiple single options. S- let's not make it mandatory. So here it is added as a variable, and then the last part is reference date. So once we go to the reference date variable, actually you can see the variable is absolute. Analytic model does not refer to any time dependent dimension or text. Okay, so this is the reason that we can't use it in this case. Okay, okay, so we will use these three variables, and we can check like other options here. So we can count distinct measures. We can do a currency conversion measure as well. So let's check what are the options are there. So for currency conversion here, you can see you can put the name and then the target currency, the reference date, and this your exchange rate type, and then here you can select the client. So these all things we need to set before we do a currency conversion. So this is very important topic, and I don't want to include it in this analytic model part. So we will do separate session for currency conversion or other miscellaneous things that we need to discuss, like hierarchies, currency conversions, and other stuff. So because I don't want to make it very lengthy, so I just want to show you how we can add a currency conversion or calculated measure. So in calculated measure is like you can perform arithmetic operations, like if you want to create a difference of two measures, gross amount minus net amount, or you want to create um, like a percentage of tax amount based on gross amount. So those things you can do. So for example, tax amount divided by gross amount, and then you can multiply it by 100, which will give you the percentage. Okay, like this. Okay, and you can validate it, and you can name it as tax percentage. Okay, go back. So this is very quick. We have explored everything. Last part is, let me remove this. Last part is filter option. So in the filter option, you can define a filter expressions. So you can create a combination of expressions that we have. This filter expression we have already discussed before. It's similar expression you can give. So you have these many operators where you can use and or not, and you can use multiple filters, and then you can write an expression over here, and this will um, this will put a filter on your analytic model based on the expression that you give. In our case, because we have already discussed how to write this expression, I'm not going to add any filter in my case, so I will just delete it. But if you want to explore it, you can do it. Okay, so our analytic model is almost ready. So as we do not need, it is not mandatory to deploy before previewing the data. So what I will do, I will go to the preview again, and here we will get a pop-up for the input values. So it's loading. Okay, so it's the previous window that is appeared now. Now you need to put the values. Okay, so if we have so many variables, and if we want to input only mandatory ones, then you can use this checkbox, and it will show only mandatory variables to you. Okay, and then if you want to see the technical names of the variable, you can switch it on or you can remove it. So let's suppose if we want to put the filter as 2018, and then in fiscal period we can select, let's suppose, second half of the year. Okay, and then we have a sales organization. Let's suppose we select AMER and EMEA. Okay, so we put all our filter and click on set. So it will refresh the data as per the filter that we have provided, and we got the amount and everything. So let's see our calculated measures are appearing or not. So here you can see we have our calculated measures. So if you don't want to display the technical name of the measures, so what you can do, so let me see if we can, so click on the measure, and in the presentation you can select only description. Okay, so it will only show the description instead of both description and measure. And then we have the dimensions available over here. So we have all the dimensions that we have created. So similarly we can add anything from the address ID. So for example, city, and then we can also add partner ID. So we can add it to both, to column as well as rows. So in this case I am adding it as a rows, and here you will get couple of options. Okay, so one thing what I would say, here you will get a drag option. So once this icon will appear, you can use it and drag it so that you can rearrange your columns. Okay, so you will get the parent ID first and city as next. So for example, if you want to remove the city, then again you can go to the address and click on this. This will remove the city. Okay, it's pretty simple. And now if you don't want to show this partner ID, but you only want to show the text of that partner ID, then you can choose the presentation. So in the presentation you have ID, description, both ID and description, or description and ID. Okay, and then you have the key type as key as default. So let's suppose we select the description. Okay, so here you can see only description is appearing. Then here you also have a sorting option if you want to sort by name. So there are a couple of options you have. So here you have sort options. So you can sort your field just like in Excel, like ascending and descending order. Then you have other fields you want to add, you can directly add from here. So if you click on company name, it will be added just next to the selected column. Okay, so here you can see, sorry, this is by mistake. Okay, so this is how. So here you can see company name is not selected over here. That is why it is in gray color over here. So this is not a navigational attribute, but it's a only display feature. Okay, so selecting an attribute from here, which is like a field, is not the same like selecting from here. Okay, so this feature, user, if user only, user will not get a change access in any of the tool. So user will not see this option if it's if it doesn't have an access to edit this model. So he will only view this data, and if you haven't added the company name, then he can add it from here and remove it as well from this feature. So this feature is really important for the users who want to use it. And if you add it from here, then you will get a separate column like this in a bold letter. Okay, next thing what you can see is when you right click over here, sorry, when you right click over here, you have hierarchy option as well. So I have also defined a hierarchy for this field. So whichever field have an hierarchy associated, you will get an hierarchy option, and I have only one hierarchy available with me. So by default it's a flat representation. You can change it to selected hierarchy. So you can create multiple hierarchies and you can select whichever hierarchy you need for your representation, and you click on OK. So once you do that, now this is in hierarchical format. So my hierarchy is basically, first one is the business partner role, and within partner role, who is the creator of that business ID, this is created by. So just for the demo purpose I have used it as a level based hierarchy, but you can create like your own hierarchy based on your needs. Okay, so this is how you can use a hierarchy as well. So let's see other features. So we already know we can move the fields from left or right. We can also do that by dragging and dropping. We can remove this field if it is not needed. Presentation mode, we have several options we have discussed. Field option, we can add it based on the attributes available for this field. Then we have sorting option, hierarchy option. We can also put a filter. So if you want to put a filter over here, you will get an option like this. And then because this is a hierarchy based, you will get a filter like this and you can select. But if you want a flat representation of filter, you can also select flat representation, and then you can choose your required filters and apply. Okay, so filter wise, you can also search from here if the list is long. Okay, I'm not going to put any filter. You can also exclude it, that is specific. So let's suppose if you want to exclude these values and remaining values you want to include, you can just simply click OK, and the value get updated based on the filters applied. Okay, so this is very simple how you can use it. Then you have include unbooked values, you can include. So if there is any value combination of the dimensions but there is no measure for that dimension, that is known as unbooked value. So you can include that if you want. It will increase the number of cells in your preview and might impact your performance. So you need to be very specific if you want to use unbooked values. Then whether you want to show total or hide total. So when you show total, you will get the total values at the end. Okay, so this is how you can use show total. Then you have zero suppression, total position. So total position you can also show on the top. Okay, now the total is appearing at the top. If the list is long and you don't want to go at the end and to check the total, you can use this option. Then zero suppression is basically if your entire row or entire column is having a zero value and you don't want to display the zero value, then you can perform zero suppression, so that it will reduce the count of the data in the display option. Then these are the several query options like set variables, swap access, and grid. If you want to freeze the number of columns, like if you want to freeze the top 10, or you want to freeze this row or this column partner id, and you want to, then you can use the freeze options. Okay, here you have several sessions. So you have rows, so whichever you are selecting, it is coming over here. So once you click on it, you can also get a suppression options over here as well. So if you want to do zero suppression all the values, you do not need to do one by one. You can just simply go into the rows and do the suppression or total positions. Okay, so you can do it one go. So that is the option you get. If you want to remove any column, either you can deselect it, or you can also use this cross option. Within the parent partner id, you get all the options using these three options as well, which we are getting while we're creating clicking a right click on this. So you get all these options here as well. So these are the two ways which you can use. Then we have several, sorry, formatting options as well. So you can change the scale, like if these are in like in a real in numbers. If you want to change the scale to, for example, 1000. Okay, so here you can see it is changed to 1000, all the values. So similarly you can also use, like if you want to display the decimals. Let's suppose I want to display only one decimal instead of two. So I will update it, and here several options. So how you want to show a positive and negative sign, either you can use plus minus, or you can use a bracket for the negative sign. Okay, so in our case we don't have negative values, but if your model have negative values, then you can choose. By default it will show plus minus, but if you want to show as a bracket for negative value, then you can use this option. So these are the options. And this is one also important thing is, by default it is all measures. So whatever changes we are doing, it is getting applied to all measures. But in case, let's suppose one measure is a gross amount, which is a very high value, tax amount is a small value. So here we are seeing that if we change it to million, for example, so what it will do, here we are actually getting some sort of value, 0 0.4, but all these are changed to 0. Okay, so in that case what we can do, so this is just an example, although this is also doesn't look good, but this is just an example. Like if applying to all measures is not your solution, that what you can do, you can select a specific measure. For example, for the text I don't want million, for the text I want 1,000. Okay, so what it will do, it will keep everything as million, and then this will make it as 1,000. So you can flexibly choose your formatting as well. Okay, so now everything we have checked, and I think everything is perfectly fine. We can go back to the model and we can click on deploy. Okay, save. So the model is deploying now. Yeah, it's deployed now. We can go back to the preview and let's see if we have missed anything to discuss. So variable part we have already discussed. Everything we have already discussed. So what we will do, we will make it as 2018 and will not put any filter at this time. We'll just click OK. Yeah, so we haven't discussed about this part. So this is like if you want to reset the metadata. So you changed many things, and if you want to reset it, you can use this option. Okay, this is a filter option you will get if you want to put any filter on a specific dimension, or if you want to put filter on any specific gross, like you want to put filter only show those gross amount which are greater than 1 million, then you can use this filter as well. So once you click on this, you will get this option. So between so and so value. Okay, so here you need to also select the context. So because based on the granularity the value will change, you need to select at what granularity you want to use this filter. So for example, if you want to, I want to see a city, okay, whose gross amount is between, I suppose, is between, or maybe is greater than 500k. Okay, so five zeros. Okay, and you can add multiple ranges. That's not an issue. So I just added it, and here you can see it is added. And when I bring the city, I will not get any value smaller than 500k. So here you can see all values are greater than 500k. This is very cool feature. Similarly, you can put any filter on any measures on and any specific combinations. So this is really important for a person who is doing a data analysis, and he want to know that, okay, let me know the cities who has gross amount of more than a certain amount or gross amount less than certain amount. Okay, so those kind of filters you can put. Then here you have a variable option. In case you want to go back to change your variable, then you can use it. So this pop-up will appear again. So once you set it, and then later on you decided, okay, I missed one filter, I want to go back, then again you can go back. If your filter list is long, you can just copy that filter and use this paste steps option as well. Okay, let's cancel this. Then you have, this is information option, which you can see. So this is information about the name of the model, description, and the variable that we have put. Okay, and then this is hide filter. So you can hide the filter option over here. So filter is applied but you don't want to show it, so this is just show and hide filter. And this is pause refresh. This is also very important feature. Okay, pause refresh is something like you want to do n number of changes, but because your data volume is huge, whenever you put one filter or add one column, it takes some time. So for example, if I want to add latitude, longitude, and then later on I go, so here you can see it is taking time adding one by one. Then I go again, and it takes time because my data volume is not that big. It is coming in few seconds, 2 3 seconds. But if the data volume is very huge, it might take like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, which is, and if multiple drill down is needs to be done, then it is very time consuming. So in that case, what we can do, we can pause refresh. So this will pause any refresh, and then you can change anything based on your needs. The system will not refresh it. Okay, so here you can see it is paused, it is not refreshing. So I can add my columns pretty smoothly by saving my time. I don't want this. I will click delivery status. So once I am done, it's not only about adding a column, it's also like you can select the respective measures as well, and the refresh will not happen. So it will stop the refresh. Let me see if, okay, so everything is added. Another thing I want to show you is sales organization. You can also add a filter from here. Okay, so this will also not refresh. So filter is also added, but this is also not refreshing. So you can add filter from here as well if multiple filter is required. So once you are done with everything, then you can click it again, and then refresh will happen based on whatever selections you have done. So it was very quick, otherwise it would have taken some time to refresh one by one. Okay, so we are done with creating our antique model. Now what we will do, we will try to see the impact and lineage analysis of our analytic model. So here we have two options: data analysis and dependency analysis. So data analysis will give you details about how the data is coming from different flows, and then you have dependency analytics, like how your dimensions or the tables are related to each other, how they are dependent on each other. So here you can see there are four tables which are which are holding the data or storing the data for the sales order, and then using the data flow, these data are loaded to our sales order summary table. Now this sales order summary table is used in our sales order view to create a view, and then this sales order view has been used in our sales order summary model, which is our analytic model. So this is the whole data flow. This is the table, this is the data flow, this is the another table, then we have the view, and then we have the analytic model. Once we move to dependency analysis, here we will see like how the tables are associated with each other. So partner, business partner is associated with address, and then business partner is also associated with partner text. Then we also have another business partner table. So all the dependencies you will get. Summary view is associated with business partner, and this business partner is associated with our analytic model. Okay, and you can also change it from right to left to bottom to top if you want to view it in this way. So it will appear like this. Okay, so these are the options that are you can see like how your data flow. If you have a very complex one, you can just use this flow to know that how your data is flowing and how your objects are related to each other. Yeah. Okay, so this is it for analytic model in SAP Datasphere. Hope you like the content. If yes, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. If you want to receive the latest notification about the latest uploads, please click on the bell icon. um, I would be covering one or two more sessions related to the data builder, which would be the task chain and some miscellaneous objects like configuring a hierarchy, or how we can use a hierarchy, what are the variable types. Maybe I will check whatever I haven't covered, or which will be good to discuss in as a miscellaneous session, and then we will move to business builder part. So hope you like the content till now. So keep watching, stay tuned for the next video. Till then, have a nice day. Bye bye.